you do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back everyone to another episode of All About Mechanics. Now today I'm going to be showing you Wayrest Sewers II. We're going to use the same setup as we always do. One tank, one healer, one stamina DPS and one magicka DPS, making sure that no roles are left out. We're going to obviously activate hard mode and show you all the mechanics of all the different bosses and add pulls along the way as well. Here we go. Now the layout to this particular dungeon is pretty much the same as the first one. There's no extra rooms or hidden secrets or anything like that, but the bosses and the ads are completely different. So you'll be familiar with which way you've got to go, but you'll have different encounters. Now the trick to these is of course the same as before. Get your tank in the middle as central as possible while chaining everything else in. There's a lot of undead stuff, so you get a lot of ultimate from them as well, so you can actively use your ultimates quite a bit. Also there's a few mage or caster types. You have to be really aware of those and make sure that you interrupt them. Very important. Get the melee stuff in, interrupt the range stuff while the tank is trying to pull them in. But this first pull is a little tricky because they get stuck. There's a bit of a bug. Or maybe the enemies are just a little bit stupid. Some of them get stuck underneath that little grill, so you have to kind of go down and start killing them. You can pull them up from the very beginning, but it's not always as easy to do that as it may look. So just get under there, kill them, and then get back up the steps and off you go. Now, the next pull, very simple. You can stand on the bridge and pull everything in. You can run over to the other side of the bridge and pull everything in, or you can literally just plant your feet here and pull them in as they come across. But again, same rules as before. Get your tank in the middle, pull everything in as fast as possible, and make sure as DPS and healers and the tank, you interrupt everything as they're channeling their abilities, especially the range stuff. So be very aware of those. The casters, the flame guys at the side, the pyromancer types, they really do hurt, so keep your feet out stupid, interrupt as and when you can, and get as much area of effect damage down as possible. As long as you've got healer, generally the damage that's incoming isn't too bad on the DPS, but again, just make sure you don't stand in stupid for too long. And of course for the tank, be very aware of anything that is melee based, because they tend to have nasty heavy attacks which will knock the DPS off their feet and can cause some issues. Now the next room is usually a boss in Wayrest 1, but in this particular version, in Wayrest 2, there is not a boss. Instead, we have loads and loads of undead and caster type ads. So make sure that you get into the middle as soon as possible. Same as before, use this grill as kind of a guideline and pull everything in. If you try and fight them on the ramp, there is a known bug where sometimes they get stuck in the wall and then it takes you forever to try and get them down. There aren't too many uppercut types in this particular dungeon, but good practice means basically keeping an eye on what things do, and generally range stuff will have a channeling effect that you need to interrupt, and two-handers or sword and boards or anything like that have a habit of charging and uppercutting. So just be aware of those throughout all the dungeons, not just this one, but in general just always be aware that melee will knock you off your feet and range will issue some nasty dots and ground effects. So just be really careful with your feet. Now the next part, we are going to get charged at by a bone colossus. This dude must be spun around away from the group. Do not aim at the DPS or the healers with this. The tank has to spin it around and make sure that you as a group are on his back. Now you've got two options here. You can fight him in the corridor on his own and then move in and kill all the ads, or you can pull them all together at once, depending on your group and how kind of experienced you are with this kind of stuff. If you've got decent heals down, it makes sense to pull them all in together and just burn with AoE if you can. Failing that, you can take your time and just be really careful. Make sure you interrupt the range stuff again as usual, as you saw me do in the beginning there, and keep everything as clustered up as possible. Again, the tank needs to make sure that they CC the enemies if they can. By that I mean pin them down, and also make sure that taunts are applied. I see a lot of tanks lately that walk in with sword and board and don't taunt. You've got to apply a taunt and you've got to keep it active. This boss is very simple, but it is a bit of a pug killer. As you saw in the beginning there was two buttons. I pressed one and I think AJ pressed the other one. There's one on each side of the room where the statues are. Turn this boss away from the group, stay out of stupid, and do as much damage as you can. But during the fight, one person, there you go, will be suspended in midair while the boss goes bright purple. You cannot interact with the boss while this is happening. So as you saw, me and AJ split up, one either side of the room, activate a button. If you both activate the buttons, it will release the member of your team who is suspended in midair, and you'll be fine. If you don't do it quick enough, they will die. Again, as you can see, there's some large AoEs on the ground. She will place them throughout the fight, so just be careful where you're standing. She will try and put them on top of people's heads, so if it does land on you or anything like that, you can see us just landed on mine. All you need to do is move out of the way of it. You can get around the back of her, or maybe around the front. Not too much around the front, because she does kind of have a little nasty cleave, but just be careful where you put your feet and you should not have an issue. If you've got strong healers, you can probably get a couple of ticks of damage off on there. without dying, but if you stay in there too long, then you will take some serious damage and it will be a problem. Apart from that, stack and burn, stay out of the AoEs. If she goes purple, press the buttons and get back in again. Onto zombies, these are not really that much of a problem. They have very, very low health. Pull them all in all together and then burn them down with AoE. Even low DPS can get rid of those really, really quickly. Now there is a boss off to the left, which people do tend to skip. You don't have to do this boss, but if you want all the achievements, then I would recommend doing so. Bone Colossus first, turn them around from the group, make sure that the cleave doesn't hit us, or the DPS and the healers, and the tank can literally just hold it still on the spot. Very, very simple. Now in this room, there are a lot of zombies. Again, these are very, very quick to kill. Just stack and burn, hold them still, burn them down with AoE. I know traditionally, of course, not everyone has really, really high damage, but honestly, these are very, very low, so they don't take a lot. A couple of dots down on the ground, they're dead. Now this boss, obviously a Bone Colossus, very, very much like the one that we just encountered in the corridor. Turn it away from the group, everybody stay behind it, and you will be fine. He has a nasty cleave and heavy attack from the front, so do not stand in his face. Don't run around the room, because it's not going to help anyone. And during the fight, he will spawn a few skeletons, 3 at a time in fact. So watch your feet, don't get caught by them, because they will explode if you don't kill them fast enough. So once they start kind of channeling and they're going to blow up, you can see an AoE under their feet, just step out of it and then step back in again, and you'll be fine. Apart from that, stack and burn scenario, he's really not that problematic. As long as the tank doesn't run around the room, and as long as the DPS and healers stay behind him, he's a very, very simple boss. Now, the next boss you would have seen before in Wayrest Sewers 1, however, he's been souped up a little bit. This particular boss is quite low in terms of health, but he has a nasty, nasty mechanic which will fear you, and the longer you are feared, the more mess gets laid down on the ground, and the more difficult it becomes to position yourself, so you have to be very, very careful. I'll go over that a bit more once we actually get to him. I've got an ad pull here first of all. It's a little circle in the room. You can use it as kind of a reference point. Get your tank in the middle and just pull everything in. There's a little buggy there. He pinged backwards, but never mind. So again, chain stuff up, talons them up, whatever you've got to your disposal in terms of CC. Pull them in as quick as possible, and the DPS and the healers as well. Make sure that you keep an eye on anything that's ranged, which is close to you, so you can interrupt it if you have to. Watch out for the melees, because they do steal Tornado occasionally, doing a nasty little spin. So just stay behind them, and if you see them doing that, just walk backwards a little bit. Above all, again, same scenario as most. Stay out of stupid, stack and burn, keep as much AoE down as possible. If you do get caught by ads and they're chasing you, do not run away. Worst case scenario, if it's on you, move to the tank so the tank can take it off you. Now, this boss, the fear boss, the tank should hold it as still as possible. He does have a nasty cleave, which is very, very small area of effect, which you can avoid. But as you can see there, he feared us. Now, when you get feared, you need to break free as soon as possible. Where you break free is where the fire will be placed underneath your feet, so you must get out of it quickly. There's a heavy attack that will be applied to the tank. Hopefully the tank has torn on, otherwise you're in trouble. But if it does heavy attack a DPS or a healer, all you need to do is block and you will be fine. It won't kill you. But if you don't block, it's a one-shot. So block the heavy, stay out of the spin, and when he fears you, break free instantly, get out the fire that you place on the ground. If you stay feared for ages and ages and ages, you're going to end up running through fire and you will die. So to recap again, break free quickly, so preserve your stamina if you're a magicka build. Get out of the fire once you break free. Make sure you block his heavy attack, and of course stay out of the cleave. Tanks really should be standing as still as possible. There's no reason to kite that boss. Just plant your feet, stay where you are as much as you can, and kill him. Now this boss can be a little tricky if you're not paying attention. If you've got lots and lots of DPS, it's basically a burn fest, but what you should do is pay attention to the mechanics if you do not have that, because then you will have to kind of move around the room a bit. So you start off with a straightforward burn. The tank should be taunting him and turning him away, but that's pretty much it. You'll see some AoEs land on the ground. It's very, very simple. They're really obvious. Just don't stand in them. Find a gap, get in it, and once they're gone, stand back where you were. You don't have to dance around the room. Now you see these lich crystals that just popped. Each one will release a spirit. Now the tank can chain them in. In the meantime, if they channel, you can interrupt them. You've got two choices. You can either keep focusing the boss, depending on how much damage you've got, or you can focus the ads and get them down quickly, because once they're down, or during that phase, this will happen. It's teleport phase. Now he will channel health from each person in the group, and it really, really hurts. So your healer has to be on point here. So heal through that phase as much as you can, and then it's rinse repeat. AoEs on the ground, get out of them, Lich crystals will pop, ghosts will come out. Always kill the ghosts if you can, especially if you're in a low DPS group, because otherwise you will get overwhelmed with a number of them. So you have 4 to start with. The next phase you'll get another 4, and so on and so forth. If you don't kill them, you'll end up with 8 and more and more and more, and it will just become increasingly difficult. So stack and burn, kill the adds, stay up stupid, high pressure heals through the beam phase. That's pretty much it. This room is huge in terms of adds. Make sure your tank goes first. I know I probably didn't, but you should. Pin everything into the center, interrupt the range stuff, and as much area of effect damage down as possible. Remember, there are a lot of undead enemies in this particular dungeon, so if you do have your Fighters Guild passives where you get ultimate for each one killed, if you get the kill and blow, you can actively use your ultimate quite a lot. Now, we held back a bit in here for the point of the demonstration, of course. You can see I'm on almost 500 ultimate, but you can use them pretty much throughout. All the ad pulls can be borderline nuked depending on your group. This boss is a bit of a pain. He's got very low health, but he's got a nasty fear, and it will kill you if you're not careful. So put all the adds into where the boss is to start with, and if he leans backwards like he did there, get out of his way. He's going to wind it up, he's going to move backwards really, really slow, and then he's going to dart forward and fear and almost borderline one-shot a DPS or healer if you're not careful. So every time he charges up backwards, just get out of his face. Apart from that, burn the adds down with area of effect and go full burst on the boss if you can. Again, watch him when he leans backwards. If he aims in your direction, you've got to move out of the way. Stack and burn for the most part, but that is a very important mechanic to try and avoid. There he goes again. Every time he leans back, get out of his face. He's going to dart forward, there's going to be a spirit come out of him, and he's going to fear you, and it really, really hurts. So just don't get caught by that. Apart from that, I guess, tank, hold it still, turn it around from the group. More zombies, they're not very difficult at all. Very, very low health. Keep your area of effect down, and goodbye. Here's loads and loads of ultimate. Next pull is on the corner. It actually comes through from the corridor. So if your tank is quick, they can kind of get in and start pulling stuff straight away. If your DPS is a little bit YOLO, then they'll all come running out, and then you get in trouble. So be careful here. Let your tank go first. Pin everything first off, and then grab your taunts as you can. As much area of effect as possible. Again, just like before, there are some undead enemies, there are some mage types that need to be interrupted, and again, as you can see, my ultimate is really, really high, so you can build ultimate really, really quick for these pulls. Bone Colossus, again, turn it away from the group. Do not stand in his face if you're not the tank, and make sure you apply your damage standing still and not running around the room. Just like every other Bone Colossus, they do spawn 3 skeletons occasionally. They're very, very low health, so if you kill them, they're not a problem, and if you don't, they'll explode, so just watch your feet. This room is massive. As soon as you start, there's 2 pulls, one on this side, one on the left side, that will all kind of try to come together. This is a very, very good place to start throwing in your ultimates to get rid of them really quickly. The tank should pull them into the middle, interrupt the range stuff, and again, watch out for AoEs on the ground. The ghosts can fear you. As you can see, that was leaning back. When he then dives forward, be very, very careful, because he will try and fear the group. I got stuck. But generally, AoE on the ground, ultimates if you have to, and burn them as they come in. Now, you can pull all the zombies into here as well if you've got enough damage, and that is actually quite fun. Further down the west side of this tunnel here, you can just pull them out from the middle, but that's only for experienced groups. If you're not that experienced, just take your time, pull them gradually. Another pull at the end, borderline mirroring what we just went up against. There's a few zombies, there's a couple of nasties in there as well, but nothing too stressful. Much AoE down as possible, get rid of all the zombies. You get so much ultimate from these as well if you've got the Fighters Guild passives. So if you want to nuke them with Destro ultis and Dawnbreakers and all the rest of it, go for it. You'll be absolutely fine by the time you get to the last boss. This is your final opportunity to gain ultimate, so don't use your ultimates in this particular pull. Just make sure you kill them as fast as possible with area of effect. They are just zombies, they don't hit that hard, they don't have a lot of health. Just burn them down as quick as you can and save your ultimate for the last boss. Now, hard mode doesn't have to be activated. Version 2s generally don't, apart from a couple of them. There is a condition, and the condition is you must kill 15 zombies during the fight. Do not pull any zombies yet. Wait until the bosses are present in the room, and then you can pull them, otherwise it will not count. If you look down the corridor to the end in front of me, there are some zombies there, and there are also some to the left of me as I just turned my camera up on the corner. All you need to do is get someone assigned in your group to go and pull them while the boss is active. So I'm going over to here, going to aggro those and bring them into the middle. There's some on the left as well. I'll aggro those and bring them into the middle. Now, the bosses themselves, one is an archer and one is a melee two-hander, so watch out for the cleaves and the heavy attacks. Keep your area of effect and ultimates down as the zombies come in and get rid of them really fast and you'll be fine. The trick to pulling the boss, however, is that the tank needs to pull the melee to the archer. The archer will never follow you unless you can get range on him, because he will always fire at range. So wherever it lands, follow it and bring the melee to it, and then turn them both away from the group. During the fight, we will get lots of bats spawned every so often. Typical scenario, same as the first version of this particular boss, in fact, or first version of this dungeon. Kill the bats, and then the bosses will reappear again. Really, really simple stuff. As soon as they're back in, all you need to do is hold them where they were and start doing as much area of effect as possible. Now you can see that guy has a damage shield. When the damage shield is up, focus the other one instead. You can do damage to both, but the damage is obviously mitigated a lot once they have a shield up. So if you are focusing the archer, for example, and he gets a damage shield, switch to the other and vice versa. But it's a very, very simple, fast-paced stack and burn scenario, so long as you can stack the melee on top of the archer. Remember, don't attack the zombies until the fight starts, or it won't count for hard mode. So, hopefully that helped, hopefully that wasn't too boring, hopefully you now have a better understanding of how to approach the mechanics of that particular dungeon. It's actually quite fast, it's not too difficult, but things can go wrong, as in most situations they do. But pay attention, watch your feet, and you'll be just fine. Anyway, first of all, thank you all very, very much for watching. I hugely appreciate the support, and if you are not subscribing, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you want to help support outside of the channel, there are some links in the description for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, and of course the website xynodegaming.com, where all the written guides are, and there's a forum there as well. Don't forget, I stream every single night, 10 PM onwards, UK time, on Twitch as well, so there is a link for that. Once again, thank you all very, very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.